everybody and welcome back to my channel. In this week's video I'm going to be showing you how you can glaze clay pins using UV resin. So if you remember last week's video I painted these super cute Animal Crossing pins, and this week we're going to glaze them, get them really nice and shiny and complete the pin making process. So here are all the materials you're going to need for glazing with UV resin. I'll link them below. And I'm going to take you step by step through the process of glazing with UV resin, and also I have 6 tips for you throughout this process that'll make it so much easier for you when you're doing this at home. So the first tip I have for you today is to use blue tack and little squares of paper to sort of mount your pins onto a paper, and this kind of, raises them up so that if you have any drips with your UV resin you can, take them off really easily, and also they're really easy to slide and move around on little pieces of paper so you don't actually have to touch them and ruin your lovely glaze. So this is my first step, and I put all of my pins onto these little pieces of paper. It just makes handling them so much easier, so I definitely recommend doing this before you start glazing anything. So after you put all your pins onto little pieces of paper, you're obviously going to want to glaze them with the UV resin. So another tip for you that I have is do not use a fluffy paintbrush to apply the resin. You'll see me using a fluffy paintbrush here, and the reason this is not a good idea is because when you dip a fluffy brush into the UV resin, it incorporates a lot of air bubbles straight onto the brush, so you'll have to spend a lot of time with a little toothpick poking out the little bubbles, so don't do this. So what I actually recommend that you do is actually just apply all of the resin with a little toothpick like that. So just dip the toothpick into the resin, it puts a little drip onto the end of the stick, and then you just apply it onto the pin or whatever it is that you want to glaze and just push the resin around. This gives you so much more control with the resin, and it avoids a lot of air bubbles, and you won't really have as much drippage off the pins because you're applying such small amounts and you have so much more control. So definitely a toothpick is going to be your lifesaver while doing this. So once you've finished applying your resin, you're going to want to cure it under UV light. So as you can see, the little paper makes it so easy to just slide and push around the pins into this sort of open, I think this is for like a manicure light for curing nail polish. This gives it like a blast of intense UV light, so it's quite good for curing pins quickly. So another tip I have for you, if you have this kind of open light, is to get a little cosmetic mirror and just place it in front of the opening, and that way the UV light is reflected back inside and gets a nice even curing on all of your pins. But if you don't have a UV light, that's absolutely fine. I actually find that direct sunlight worked so much better than this light. I got this light on eBay, and it's kind of dumb because it has a 90-second timer, and every 90 seconds you have to click the button again, and it's really annoying. So definitely a tip for you is just to put it in direct sunlight. I think that the sunlight worked best, and it gave me such an even glossy finish, and there was no patchy parts or anything like that, and they just look so nice and glassy. Ooh, they're literally like shining brighter than my future right now. Look at that shine, oh my god. So a common problem with resin is dripping. So to get rid of dripping, I actually just use a file. So I have a metal file here with quite a coarse grating on it, and I just file down all the little lumps and bumps and get a really smooth back. But if you want to avoid this filing stage completely, do the little toothpick thing I said at the start, because if you use a toothpick and you use less resin and you have much more control and you can take away any drips, as they're appearing, you won't need to do this step at all. So definitely I recommend that, and then you'll save yourself the time of grinding away all the little resin lumps and bumps at the back. And here are the finished pins. They look so shiny and beautiful, and I absolutely love them. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. I make new videos every single Sunday, and all of these little pins will be available in my Etsy shop tonight if you're interested in picking one up for yourself. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!